Program funding for the Organic Odyssey was provided by the California Certified Organic Farmers Foundation, as well as the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. Visit their web pages or social media for all their amazing content and guidance on everything organic. Support for the Organic Odyssey is provided in part by the Grimm Family Center for Organic Production and Research at Cal Poly. For more information or to support the center, please visit organic.calpoly.edu. That's organic.calpoly.edu for the Grimm Family Center for Organic Production and Research at Cal Poly. Support for the Organic Odyssey is provided in part by AgCom Central. Visit AgCom Central on twitch.tv or youtube.com for all content ag-related. That's AgCom Central on twitch.tv or youtube.com for AgCom Central.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Organic Odyssey. I'm your host, Madison Jasso.
Hi, I'm Avery. I'm your co-host for today, and I'm a first-year majoring in agricultural communications.
Today, we have a couple guests here in person with us and a couple also on Zoom. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves first.
Thank you, Maddie. My name's Matt Grisham. I am the director of the Grimm Family Center for Organic Production and Research at Cal Poly.
Hey, I'm Houston Wilson. I'm the founding director of the UC Organic Agriculture Institute and a cooperative extension specialist in the Department of Entomology at UC Riverside.
And then on Zoom, we have...
Hi, thanks for having me, Maddie and Avery. Lexie Wilson, Extension and Outreach Coordinator at the UC Organic Agriculture Institute.
Hi, everyone, and I'm Maria Orozco. I'm the Education and Mentorship Coordinator for UC Organic Agriculture Institute with the statewide roles, but based here also in SLO.
Perfect. I'm so excited you guys are all here with us today. So in today's episode, we'll be taking a look at the UC Organic Agriculture Institute, and we'll be having a conversations about their mission, history, and vision for the future of the Institute.
Yeah, so first off, could you tell our listeners a little bit about the UC Organic Institute and its primary mission?
Yeah, so the UC Organic Agriculture Institute was created back in early 2020. It was a partnership between Cliff Bar, the people that make the little bars, and the UC Office of the President. They put money together to create an endowment to support this institute, and it's housed within the UC Division of Agriculture and Natural Resources. So they created this statewide institute as sort of a clearinghouse for organic agriculture. So we are providing research, extension, and education support to certified and transitioning and aspiring organic farmers in California.
Very cool.
What are the biggest challenges that organic farmers faced that you've researched?
Oh, there's a lot of different things. So, when I came on as the director, initially, one of the first things I did was to develop a proposal for a statewide needs assessment for organic agriculture. So we got that funded after the first year and hired a researcher to take that project on, Dr. Shreya Rangarajan. And she conducted a series of online surveys and in-person semi-structured interviews with organic growers of all different crops, all different scales, all different parts of the state, just kind of the whole thing. And even up the food chain a little bit, talking to input suppliers and processors and retailers, just sort of the whole organic agriculture ecosystem. And, a lot came out of that. And so there's, the way we talk about it, there's sort of broadly these production challenges, so weed management, pest management, disease management, things like that. And then there's these more systemic type of challenges, and that's, access to markets or the administrative requirements of organic certification and compliance, things like that. And so, some of the broad level takeaways that we found through this survey effort was there tended to be different problems that growers were facing depending on their scale of operation. So small scale growers tended to have fewer production challenges. They definitely have them, But, really their highest priority was, the cost of certification, the administrative requirements, access to markets, things like that. On the other side, the larger scale organic producers, they tended to have less issues with the certification and compliance and marketing, and more really having a lot of difficulty with production aspects. And so within that, probably weed management and crop nutrition ranked the highest. Almost everything across the board was ranked very highly, but if you zoom in, those two things kind of come to the top. And that, does follow findings from similar surveys we've seen in other states or at the national level carried out by other entities.
You mentioned pest management, and I'm just curious, I lost my question. I had it written down, but, how does the Institute help organic farmers with pest management specifically?
Yeah, so, as I said, we're this clearinghouse or a hub or, a facilitator of research and extension and education around these cropping systems. And so, what we're able to do and how we're able to address pest management issues, it's really connecting growers with the appropriate resources. And sometimes that's people within the University of California or Cooperative Extension. Sometimes it's people at the USDA. Sometimes it's folks, in the private sector or nonprofit organizations or state agencies, just depending on the nature of the problem they have. So if it's a pest management issue, we as a statewide program, I'll receive an email from a strawberry grower in the Central Coast and say, hey, I'm really dealing a lot with, lygus bug, and what do you do for that in organic systems? And it's not, even though I am an entomologist, that's not the cropping system I work in. And, what we do is look through our network and say, okay, you can go check out these resources, a written production manual for organic pest management or something like that online. You can go talk to this, and this person, locally who can come out and look at your farm and, basically connecting them with resources, whether it's a written resource, a person, or an institution.
What other forms of communication would you guys use to get in contact with them?
Well, we have a number of different extension and outreach activities that it's not so much about us getting to farmers so that we can take in all their questions. It's more, targeted training opportunities and opportunities for growers to engage with us and other relevant institutes. One of the things we like to do is host resource fairs where we really just bring together kind of all the institutions and personnel in a region that can support organic agriculture in some way, whether it's technical knowledge or financial support or training or something like that, and try to just connect them with people.
Yeah. Do you think you could explain to me a little more what the research fair would look like, or resource fair would look like?
Yeah, I am going to kick that over to Lexie, who is our extension and outreach coordinator, and maybe she can provide some more details since she's really, really closely involved in that work.
Yeah, so resource fairs that we've hosted in the past are often situated at workshops that we host throughout the state. And often what we like to do with our workshops is work very collaboratively with the local organizations on the ground. So that might be nonprofit organizations like CAF, Community Alliance with Family Farmers, or local RCDs. And so just practically speaking, they look like tables with folks from those different organizations. And we like to usually incorporate a lunch element so people can be eating their lunch, talking with these resource providers, and on their tables they have, the different programs that they might be offering. You can talk one-on-one about a specific issue you might have with those organizations. It's just a chance for farmers to connect with resource providers who are local to their area.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Can you remind me, what is your role again in this, the resource?
Yeah, so my title is Extension and Outreach Coordinator, and what that really means in practice is that I'm often working with folks internal to the UC system, whether that's within the universities or within UC the extension arm, or with external partners, like some of those folks I mentioned, whether NRCS, nonprofit organizations, other folks that provide technical assistance to farmers to develop workshops, field days, extension activities and outreach events with those folks together. So for example, coming up this month on April 2nd, we're working with the North Coast Soil Hub to put on a workshop that's part of their soil symposium series. So that's called Cultivating Biodiversity, Soil Health, and Community in North Coast Vineyards. So that's working collaboratively with the folks at the North Coast Soil Hub, with Sonoma Vineyard Technical Group and Napa Green to provide specific information about soil health in organic vineyards in that region. So that's a little bit about what I do. And hopefully you heard some of that.
We did.
Yeah, I'll just add something on here. You know, one of the things that came out really early on during that statewide needs assessment was that growers of all types were really asking for some sort of help navigating and connecting the different resources that were out there. And when we talk about being a hub or a clearinghouse, that's us trying to bring all those things together and kind of organize them and help the growers navigate it. And so, you know, on one level you can say, yeah, well, like Community Alliance for Family Farmers, that's a group that's doing XYZ for organic, and, you know, you can contact them here at their website. But then you drill down further and you have these very, you know, localized resource fairs where it's like, yeah, literally here's, Steve, who's in your county with CAF, that can connect and you know, putting a face to the organization and helping people get into that. And similarly with, you know, other resources, like you talk about pest management earlier, it's like, okay, it's not just a big list of, you know, well, University of Florida has a website and, you know, Davis has something and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, no, there's more of a narrative that will put all those resources together and say, okay, you're interested in this topic. Well, there's this thing here and it'll tell you about this part of it. And then you can go over here and they have kind of this sort of resource there just to help navigate all those things, which, you know, as much as we want to see even more resources available for organic agriculture, the stuff that does exist, you know, we're helping people to engage better with that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, sounds very interactive.
So now that we know kind of more of your role, Maria, what is, like, if you want to go in depth on like what your role is?
Yeah, so as an education and mentorship coordinator, part of my role is working on a few projects which are currently in motion at OAI, all aimed at organic, transitioning, and inspiring farmers to build strong mentorship networks, increase access to obviously organic resources, as well as education and research. One of those first key initiatives that I'm working on and facilitating is a transitioning to organic partnership program, otherwise known as TOPP. And understanding that organic agriculture is complex, especially for transitioning growers to become organically certified, it can be overwhelming. So this is where the TOPP program comes in, right? So it provides mentorship to folks that are hoping to transition or perhaps are adding a scope to their farm. And I think it's more than just a learning opportunity for farmers. It builds relationships. It allows folks to share farmer to farmer knowledge. And you really see folks supporting each other, especially through challenges, right? For instance, we currently have mentors and mentees working on across various regions and farming systems. They meet regularly to discuss everything from soil health to organic certification paperwork. And then obviously, you know, some of these communications happen over the phone, but they're really highly encouraged to visit each other's farms to get this hands-on experience. And the goal is just to help transition folks in a smoother and more accessible and obviously successful way. The second program tying into this TOPP mentorship program is the California Farm Demonstration Network, otherwise known as CFDN. There's a lot of acronyms, where we work with farmers to showcase their innovative organic practices in action. These demonstration sites allow growers to, not just growers, also researchers and technical assistance providers, to see firsthand how organic systems function, see challenges that farmers are facing, and see how farmers are experimenting with innovative techniques. And yeah, I guess the third program that I'm also facilitating and helping administer, and as we mentioned, education is a big part in our OAI mission, is the UC Field Corridor. It's a unique hands-on program where students travel from different farms and agricultural sites in Northern California. So it's a 7-week course. It starts in Santa Cruz. They then go to Fresno, Davis, Berkeley, and back to Santa Cruz. And they're really learning directly from farmers, extension specialists, researchers, to study organic and agroecological farming practices. But they're also learning, with community-based organizers on issues and how to make our food systems, more equitable.
So in full disclosure, this podcast series is actually part of the TOPP project as well. So the Grimm Organic Center has a small role in that program, and some of ours is community outreach and workforce development. And so all the students here are actually part of that program. We're trying to build new organic ambassadors.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Are there any upcoming events or conferences being held?
Oh, yeah, there's quite a bit. I'll, again, defer to Lexie, who is our Extension and Outreach Coordinator, has kind of the master plan, but I'll just say there are multiple regional meetings that are going to occur over this year, but Lexie can elaborate, and Maria as well, if you have anything.
Yeah, so coming up in April, I mentioned the event on April 2nd, Cultivating Biodiversity, Soil Health, and Community in North Coast Vineyards. So that's held on an organic vineyard, Medlock Ames Winery in Sonoma County. That's part of the North Coast Soil Hub Soil Symposium series. So that's one that we're a part of, but it's part of a larger series. On April 2nd, we are co-hosting a soil health field day on Twin Peaks Orchards. This is an organic tree fruit farm in Placer County. So this is in collaboration with Justin and Camilla Miller, the farmers at Twin Peaks, as well as Placer RCD and local UC A&R advisors. And then on April 26th, we're co-hosting a transition to certified organic workshop in Siskiyou County at the Fort Jones City Hall. And this is for farmers and ranchers local to that county who are interested in transitioning to certified organic production. So there'll be talks about 10 steps to organic certification, what practices you might need to shift if you're transitioning from conventional crop or livestock production to certified organic. And we'll have talks about soil health, livestock health, as well as sort of that resource fair component where farmers can connect in with the local support system. So those are just a few events coming up in April. And if any of your listeners are interested in attending these workshops, they can learn more and register on our website, which is organic.ucanr.edu, or visit our social media, which is UC_organic on Instagram, or just UC Organic Ag Institute on Facebook.
Yeah, I was curious on how someone can get involved with the UC Organic Center's work or in supporting their initiatives. So do you just recommend them going to the website or to the social medias?
Yeah, and also just please feel free to reach out directly on our website. All of our emails and phone numbers are listed. We'd be happy to chat. All of us are sort of spread out throughout the state. So Maria mentioned she's in SLO. I'm based in San Diego, so in Southern California. Our two other coordinators, Krista Marshall and Katharina Ullman, are in Sacramento and Davis, respectively. So if you're in one of those regions, please reach out. We can meet up in person. And yeah, all of us work statewide, but we are sort of nicely spread geographically as well.
Yeah, if you go to our website, there's an events page and you'll see, there's things happening around a wide variety of topics, all across the state, and probably an event happening, almost every month at this point.
Wow.
We finally got, our we're fully staffed with all four of these coordinators, and they are sort of off and running with these different programs. And so there's a lot of stuff happening this year.
Sounds like you guys are moving pretty quickly. Do you guys have any goals to reach in the next year or two or a couple years? Any specifics?
Well, the first 4 years of, me being me being the director of the Institute, was really just to stand up and launch the thing, like define our strategic plan, bring in funds to support hiring staff. And, as we went through that statewide needs assessment, really using that as a roadmap to guide the different programmatic activities that we put together. And so, our goal is that we are able to, serve as this resource to facilitate, improved, further optimization of organic production systems, supporting folks that want to transition into organic agriculture, and to do that through this, array of different activities. And so, you're hearing about these field days, the mentorship network, the demonstration sites, the undergraduate education program. We're going to be hosting some regional scientific conferences, bringing folks together, not just from the UC, but the CSU and any other, institution where they're doing research that's relevant to organic agriculture, and kind of highlight and showcase the work that's going on there, as well as, continuing to advocate within the University of California for the creation of additional research and extension positions that are explicitly focused on organic agriculture.
On that note, I was kind of curious, like, how has the Institute evolved since it started?
Yeah, well, when we were initially founded, so the Institute was formally announced in January of 2020. They selected me as the founding director in May of 2020. And, there was an MOU that was put together between the UC Office of the President and Cliff Barr, and they kind of handed that over to me and said, okay, there you go. This is how you should, make the Institute work, and kind of what you should, it's a guiding document, basically, and initially there was some language in there about focusing on medium to large scale organic and tree fruit and raisins, tree nuts, tree fruit, raisins, and rice. So they had a specific list of commodities and a specific scale that was in there. And I don't know where that came from, but we pretty quickly we amended that agreement so that it said, all scales, all crops, all of organic agriculture in the state. My background as an entomologist was, I did my grad studies and postdoctoral studies doing integrated pest management work in wine grape vineyards. And, I think one of the first interviews I gave as director of the Institute, I was listing out those crops and just kind of following the orders in the MOU. And, almost immediately a bunch of wine grape growers called me up and they're like, hey, we knew you when you were 19 years old. Like, what is this? Like, we're organic. It's like, okay, yeah, clearly that could be problematic to try to, truncate what we're doing. And so, yeah, that was probably one of the more significant shifts, I'd say. And then, the mission and the vision hasn't ever really changed since that. I mean, it's always been to support organic agriculture, whether it's certified, transitioning, or aspiring growers. We've really made a strong effort in our narrative to clarify that, what we do, while it starts with a focus on certified organic production, there's broad relevance of organic farming practices to all growers in California that are looking to, improve the sustainability of their system. So there's certainly many practices that you don't have to be certified organic to try to enhance biological control of pests and diseases, or have adoption of mating disruption, something like that. I'm probably going to list disproportionately insect type issues because that's kind of the world I'm most familiar with. But you know, so defining what the Institute's all about, creating a strategic plan, carrying out this survey to guide our programmatic activities, and then, putting all that into action through a series of grants that we were awarded to hire people like Lexie and Maria to lead all of those activities. And like I said, it's only as of last fall that we finally had our full complement of coordinators, all 4 people hired and onboarded and ready to go. And so, while our first ever field day was back in July of 2023, things were kind of trickling out over 23 and 24, but now with everybody on board, we're really kind of up and running with a lot of momentum. And so like I said, there's quite a bit of activity happening this year for the first time.
Yeah, and when things were just starting, would you say it was initially overwhelming?
May of 2020, I had a 1-month-old baby at home. It was COVID, and the whole world was on lockdown, and I was given orders to start a brand new statewide program. And so, yeah, that was quite overwhelming, especially for an early career faculty like myself. I submitted my application to be director of the Organic Institute before all of that stuff was happening. And imagined, I very clearly remember like writing this essay for my application. And I was like, wow, like if I get this, like summer 2020, I'm just going to go like visit all these organic farms and go around the state. And, all of that was very abruptly put to a stop. And so, yeah, the first 18 months really was just uniquely challenging. So there was a lot of conversations that I was having with people all across the state. So basically my first thing, was to try to better understand the landscape of organic agriculture in California. And as an entomologist, all of my work, we've never explicitly branded ourselves as like the organic entomology lab or anything, but most everything we were doing fit within the National Organic Program. And so I had interacted with a lot of organic and biodynamic and other, sustainable growers around the state, but never as intentionally as you would need to, as director of an institute like this. And so that first 18 months was a lot of relationship building and just trying to understand who was doing what, where, and how could we, were there gaps that we could fill? Were there ongoing things that we could help enhance and facilitate? And simultaneous to us, being created as an institute, we had the Grimm Center here at Cal Poly be created, and the Rodale Institute, they also set up an operation in Ventura kind of around that same time. So all of a sudden, we kind of went from nothing to having 3 different entities, very explicitly focused on organic, new entities. Not to say that we were the first. I mean, there's all these other groups like the Organic Farming Research Foundation and the Community Alliance with Family Farmers and others out there that have been in support of organic, but this whole new complement of institutions arrived. And yeah, that was sort of an overwhelming task to try to figure out what exactly we were all about. But that's just what you have to do. Also, it wasn't overly stressful or anything. It's just a very natural thing. And as we got the statewide needs assessment underway, that even further help clarify, what are the needs that are coming out of the organic community. And as we better understood what was happening already, that really allowed us to take that next step and develop more specific programmatic activities and hire people to carry those out, accordingly.
And not to backtrack, but earlier you mentioned funding. Are you talking about, are you guys funding certain farmers, or are you guys getting funding? Like, are you guys giving grants?
Sure. I can kind of recall all that. So the Organic Agriculture Institute is supported by an endowment. It's $1 million endowment that half of which was put in by Cliff Bar, and the other half was put in by the UC Office of the President. And so that complement of funding, generates, around $40,000 per year that we then use that are kind of the base funds to carry out this the different programmatic activities that we have. Cliff Bar, to their credit, it wasn't just random that they showed up in California. They had actually decided to set up 5 different endowments nationally at different universities to support organic research, education, and extension. So they had set one up at Washington State University. They set up another one at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And then the third one was with the University of California. And then they've gone on to set up another at Tuskegee, and then actually a second one at UW-Madison. And so this was sort of part of their national effort to catalyze more resources for organic agriculture. So that money, comes to California. They set up this endowment. They create this institute. They appoint me as the director. And as I mentioned in my introduction, my primary appointment is as a faculty member in the Department of Entomology at UC Riverside. So I took this directorship on separately, or in addition to that. And then since then, we've written a series of different grant proposals to different state and federal agencies to bring in additional funding for the Institute to support positions like Lexie's and Maria's and the other 2 academic coordinators.
I'm not sure if this was already mentioned, but what made Cliff Bar become a part of this? Or what's the relevancy in that?
Well, it's not that we were like, hey, we want to create an organic institute. Let's go get Cliff Bar to come. They came to us. There were meetings that had happened, I think in the 2 years prior to 2020, where they were trying to engage with the university and figure out how best to catalyze something like what they had envisioned. And so UCANR ended up being the key partner for them to join with. And, what was unique, so it was really under their own motivation. So they had money that they wanted to put into endowments in this way. One thing that I like to highlight is that what they initially were doing was setting up a traditional endowed chair. And the way those work, again, you have this complement of money. It generates X amount of money every year to be used for research and extension. But when it's an endowed chair, that is awarded to a singular person. And so you have an organic seed breeder at the University of Wisconsin-Madison who's organic ag chair. And so they're using that money to fuel their program and continue the really great breeding work that they're doing. But what the UC did a little bit differently was not set up a chair, but rather an institute. And so, the benefit there is that you're not just funding one person in a singular, disciplinary area, because as we said earlier, organic growers have issues with everything, breeding and weeds and pests and disease, the whole thing. So, the university thought it was better to create an institute that could really serve all those different needs and really bring a lot of different people together rather than having a singular person driving the work in one area.
A little off topic, but would you say that conventional farmers experience similar issues to organic farmers, or experience as many?
Oh, they're different. I mean, everybody struggles with crop nutrition and pest and disease and weed issues. They just, if you're not certified organic, there are different tools that are available to you. It's like any conventional grower can use any organic practice, but not any organic grower can use all the conventional practices, right? And so, a major challenge right now in California agriculture, really global agriculture, is trying to reduce the impacts, the use and impacts of synthetic pesticides. And so, when you start working on pest management issues in an organic system, all those synthetic pesticides are just totally off the table. So you've really got to focus on biological control, cultural controls, crop breeding for better pest and disease resistance. And so, as you develop those practices, that's something that very much can be used by a conventional grower and benefit them. So, on some level they have shared problems, but in some ways also there's things that are very unique to each system.
Very interesting. I definitely learned a lot today. Do you guys have anything else you would like to add? Any of our guests? Anything you didn't say previously that you would like the world to know?
I think I'll just add that if you're an organization that is serving aspiring, transitioning, or currently certified organic farmers, or have an event or something that you're doing that you'd like shared, like Houston mentioned, we see ourselves as a hub or a connector. So we do add other folks' events to our website on the events page. So please don't hesitate to reach out if there's something that we can broadcast that is serving those farmers in California.
Yeah, and as for me, I guess I would love to continue seeing our program expand, that whether that be through extension events, the TOPP, the demo site network, and scaling up the UC Fields Corridor. Another thing that I wanted to add, not just for organic transitioning growers, but for other underserved and historically disadvantaged growers. Or help you connect you to other resources. I myself speak Spanish, and another colleague, Katharina, also as well. So please feel free to reach out to us with any technical assistance questions you may have.
Yeah, check out the website. There's a lot of stuff we didn't even touch on today. And, as much as I said that first couple year period trying to figure out the landscape of organic in California and do this needs assessment and all this stuff, it's a constantly evolving landscape. And so we are still making connections with new partners, finding new ways to collaborate. So like Lexie and Maria said, don't hesitate at all to reach out to us. We're absolutely interested in partnering in whatever ways, might make sense for different groups. And, hope to continue to serve as a resource for organic growers in California.
Yeah. Dr. Bishop, do you have anything to add?
No, this has been great. And, it's been really fun, the partnerships that I have been able to have with the Organic Institute. I'm really looking forward to future partnerships and extending our impact by working together. So it's really great to have these organizations, including Rodale down in Camarillo, to work with, because again, it allows us all to have a much bigger reach and to just reach more people and become a better set of resources.
Awesome. What's the website again?
Organic.ucanr.edu.
All right. So guys, make sure to go to that website, check it out. I hope you guys learned a lot today, because I know I did.
Yes, thank you guys so much for coming. It's nice chatting with you all.
Yes, thank you to all of our guests, Zoom and in person. I'll see you guys next episode.
Program funding for the Organic Odyssey was provided by the California Certified Organic Farmers Foundation, as well as the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. The show was created by Matt Grisham, the talent coordinator and resident organic expert, as well as Moses Mike, the faculty production lead. The Organic Odyssey is a production of the AGC 225 class called Digital Communications and Agriculture. The student team that produced the show included Natalie Eubanks and Savannah Taylor, the directors, hosts Madison Jasso and Ava Rose, storyboard editing by Avery Mulerath, and the technical team, Isabella Anderson, Vincent Biller, Vivian Kempora, Kendall Cook, Callie Granis, Carolyn Janes, Zach Collar, Emmy Lynn Marrow, Jack Oliver Roa, Sarah Purcell, Mason Riley, and Holly Rudnick. The guests on this episode included Houston Wilson, Lexie Wilson, Maria Orozco, Avery Mulerath, and Matt Grisham. The Organic Odyssey is a digital media collaboration between the Agricultural Education and Communications Department and the Grimm Family Center for Organic Production and Research at Cal Poly. These credits were read by Chelsea Ann. Thanks for listening.